our science is about numbers. Now we're going into conjecture, but I can tell you, I can make a guess. Sometimes people know who they will not vote for if there are 4 candidates, but they may be confused between 2 or between 3. It is possible that when you give people in the Northwest, let's take argument's sake, those of them who think religion should be a factor, and by the way, that too we measured. Roughly 15% of people that we polled said they thought religion was important to them. So let's imagine somebody thinks the most important thing is religion. If you give him a choice of 3 Muslims, he might initially be undecided. Because they say, give me more time, let me hear them out and so on. That is if he's concerned about only religion. But interestingly, I don't know whether you think that figure is high, only 15% of the voters told us that religion for them is a factor. 10% told us ethnicity is a factor. But let me just tell you one thing, that 15% is high. Think about it. If in this presidential election there are 40 million votes cast, if 15% tell you that for them religion is the basis of their decision, and there's 6 million votes given to some people or some person on the basis of religion. So it's an important, it sounds small, 15%, but in the actual number, 6 million votes is a lot. It's a lot. Out of 40.
Anyone who takes 6 million votes, we know that.
Yeah. No, sorry. In September, we polled everybody.
Okay.
And the result was published, it made it clear. These were the 4 candidates whom between them, 99% of the voters said they would vote for. I know I don't want to emphasize it because the other candidates may feel that it's disrespectful. But all the other candidates put together were sharing 1% in terms of voter feedback. Now, so that's why we say this is a 4-horse race. Because if 4 major candidates are sharing 99% and the remaining candidates are sharing 1%, I know that miracles do happen and tides can change. Something can happen suddenly and all that, but on the face of it, if you're a betting man, and the language in this business usually comes from horse racing and betting and all that stuff. I was a polo player. They'll tell you it's a 4-horse race. They don't mean that in that race you don't have other horses. What they mean is that those who are putting their money on one of these 4. You can decide, Shem, that you want to get rich and you go and put a bet on a dark horse, or one that is outside of the top 4. And if you win, you win big.
Absolutely.
You know, we talked about 4 zones where the candidates came from. We didn't mention the 2 zones that no candidate is from. And that's part of the big difference. Because in those 2 zones, which is no candidate's home zone, the breakdown shows that in the South-South, Peter Obi is way ahead. And in the North-Central, where in September, in the North-Central, Peter Obi was at 16%, along with Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In the North Central, Peter Obi has moved from 16% to 24%. Bola Tinubu has lost ground in the North Central. Again, people can have their theories that zone worries about religion and Muslim tickets. Those are all theories. The numbers just show that Peter Obi, for whatever reason, has moved ahead in the North Central. Now, in the same North Central, Atiku Abubakar is running 3rd. You follow me?
Yeah.
He's running 3rd, but just slightly below Bola Tinubu.
By just a percentage.
Yeah. So that's the North Central. And in the South-South, which is another zone which they are all not from the 4 candidates. In the South-South, Peter Obi was at 46% in September. And he's still at the same exact 46%. In fact, no movement whatsoever. So he has not gained traction. He's not lost traction. Have the opponents gained traction? Some of them have. Bola Tinubu has moved from 2% in the South-South to 9%. Atiku Abubakar, our numbers show in the South-South, has lost some ground from 6% down to 3%. And Kwankwanso stayed at his 1%. Again, if you look at that result, you might say, why would Atiku Abubakar not do so well in the South-South? But actually, it's not across geopolitical zones. In terms of those who are registered to vote, the percentage. And it's quite high in all the 6 zones. Of course, there will always be highest somewhere and the lowest somewhere. And if you want, we can go to that level of detail. I can tell you immediately, figures are in front of me. The zone that has the highest percentage of those with voters' cards is the Northeast, 90% of the voters' cards. Southwest, very close, 89%. South, 88%. It is all the same. Then the three zones with the lower, percentage: North Central, 87%, Northwest, 86%, and South is 84%. Well, all of them are in the 80s and early 90s. Again, it's in relation to his competitors. We will get to the details later, but the person who is second is below him, running a good second, and then the rest are further behind. And then, I think if you notice, the Southwest has a very high percentage of those who refuse to disclose. I believe it was as high as 38%.
Yeah, 38%.
38%. Now, that is one of the highest we've ever come across. And I said earlier that usually people refuse where they think that there's the perception or the possibility of voter intimidation. And when that is a very high percentage, who can they be afraid of? Usually people are afraid of those who they think have authority, those who they think are in the position to monitor them, those who call the shots. So even in 2015, when many people were refusing to disclose who they will vote for, my conclusion was that, hey, if you're an incumbent, perhaps they don't want to disclose that they're against you, but perhaps they're plunging for the challenger. But that's all conjecture. The important thing to note is that there's a high percentage, and between September and December, the figure rose. So it was not 38% in September. It was 25%. So instead of coming down, it increased to 38%, saying they will not disclose. Meanwhile, those who are undecided reduced in the Southwest from 35% to 20%. Yeah, again, that 50% compared to where he was in September. September was 68%.
So there's a drop.
There's a drop. Interestingly, that drop is not translating into phenomenal gain for his competitors. The bulk of it is going to people who now refuse to disclose. So back in September, only 11% refused to disclose in the Southeast. Now, I don't know who's intimidating them, but all of a sudden it has jumped up to 23%. So the 12% that
refusal to speak could be linked majorly to intimidation.
Well, it's a theory, but it's people have looked at it in the past and said, when you follow the patterns, it appears to make sense. First of all, in parts of the Southeast, people are even afraid to confirm that they want to vote because some people are telling them you must not vote. Yeah. So they can just opt out of your opinion poll immediately. Yes, but that's not the complete story. All the other candidates got less than him. And more importantly, which I think we should not emphasize everywhere, there is a large percentage of people that are still undecided. And that is true even in the Northeast zone. I think our poll showed also that about 38% of the people say they're undecided. And then we also have a second category, which is important. About 14% refuse to disclose who they will vote for. Now, that has always been there, regular. Not everybody wants you to invade their privacy. They'll tell you, look, I'm going to vote, but I won't tell you, Shehu, who I'm going to vote for. So we record that percentage. Because even that percentage tells a story because it fluctuates from zone to zone. Sometimes it's a very high figure of people refusing. And then you wonder why. But historically, we have seen some trends and some explanations as to why people in a particular area may be afraid to divulge who they will vote for. And usually it's because they're worried or there's a perception of possibility of voter intimidation. I said perception because it can be real or imagined. The important thing is that if I ask you a question and you are afraid that you think I'm going to record the phone call, I have your phone number, and you will be identified as voting for or against somebody, and because you're afraid, you won't answer. It doesn't matter whether or not I plan to intimidate you. If you are worried about intimidation, you have a right to say, listen, I'm going to vote, but I won't disclose. After all, the law says you're allowed to vote in secret ballot. So opinion polls are only based on those who respond. Those who say they're undecided and those who refuse, we track those numbers.